Hello everyone, welcome to another amazing video. If you enjoy the content, I ask that you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the upcoming parts and new videos. Now, without further ado, let's get into today's video. Are you ready? Let's go.
In a city called Tianfeng, inside a classroom, we find some students desperately trying to awaken a rank A talent. While everyone is talking, one student captures our attention by remaining completely silent, staring at his phone. The other students continue discussing their talents and combat skills. We observe the same student holding his phone, looking a bit disheartened and worried. This is because the inheritance his parents left him is running out, and he may need to sell his house. Despite this, he fears it might not be enough to sustain himself, so he sighs and thinks that the only way might be to enter the magical domain tonight. This boy's name is Zhang Ze. 10 years ago, he came from the earth to this new world. Zhang Ze is the name given to him by his adoptive parents. The Zhang couple treated Zhang Ze as one of their own children. Without them, Zhang Ze wouldn't be able to survive in this new world, and that's why he is truly grateful to his parents. His father cared for him with great love, his mother provided unwavering support, and his sister loved him deeply. It was a beautiful and perfect family, but all of this was about to change. 12 years ago, mysterious demon caves arrived in this new world, bringing a new era of suffering, chaos, and fear to the people living there. These caves randomly appear anywhere in the world, releasing demons that bring with them misfortune and destruction wherever they go. Weapons created by humans were completely useless against these demons. Consequently, there was no way to stop them, leading the world into a true hell on Earth. Amidst all this chaos, we see Zhang Ze completely terrified by everything happening right in front of him. Monsters destroying cities and devouring people. A man who was lying down gathers his last bit of strength and shouts for Zhang Ze to flee. This man was Zhang Ze's father, on the brink of death. His father pleads for Zhang Ze to take care of his sister with all his strength and begs again for them to run away. Seeing his father in this situation, Zhang Ze can't contain himself and starts to cry. Zhang Ze and his little sister try to reach their father to help him in some way. However, a gigantic demon is approaching in the direction of their father, who is trapped in the debris. The monster crushes their father before their eyes, leaving Zhang Ze completely desperate. Humans were brutally massacred by demonic beasts for a long time. That was the reality they lived in. The remaining humans, desperate to try and stop this chaos, rushed to the entrances of the magical domain. Upon entering, they discovered that people who entered became stronger than an ordinary human, and even after leaving the magical domain, those who entered still retained their newfound powers. This brought a spark of hope to everyone there, encouraging them to fight for their lives. With positive results, nations began creating magical domain fighters in an attempt to combat demons and restore peace to the world. And it was successful. The international organization known as the Magical Domain Fighters Association was soon established. The school implemented a level system for fighters, ranging from 1 to 5. The first level, the second level, the third level, the fourth level, and the fifth level. To fight high-level demonic beasts, only 5th-level magical fighters are capable of killing them. Among the 5 fighter classifications, there are 7 talent rankings that can be awakened, ranging from rank D to rank SSS. The higher the ranking of their abilities, the greater their power, making it easier to defeat demons. According to the rules, only people with rank A talent can pass the evaluation to become first-level magical domain fighters. Classes had already ended, and it was getting late. As Zhang Ze left the classroom, he thought that tonight he would need to awaken a rank A talent in any way possible and pass all the evaluations. Upon arriving home, his sister was preparing something special for him as it was his 18th birthday. Looking at the dish his sister made for him, Zhang Ze smiled and invited her to eat. Apologizing, his sister explained that she wanted to do something special for him since, besides his birthday, it was also the day Zhang Ze would enter the magical domain to awaken his talent. Unfortunately, the chicken thigh turned into charred coal. Zhang Ze approached her and mentioned that it seemed she had some problems today. Trying to take care of his sister as much as possible, he scolded her, saying she didn't need to cook every night because he had offered to do it for both of them. He emphasized that his sister's studies were their priority, so she shouldn't waste time on such things. Zhang Zi took his sister's plate, removed the burnt part of the chicken, and said that the meat was very tender and delicious. His sister's mouth watered at the thought, and she tried to grab the plate, asking Zhang Zi to leave some for her, making everything right between them. As night fell, his sister mentioned she would go to a friend's house to study. She asked Zhang Zi to be careful when entering the magical domain later. Zhang Zi told his sister that she could go, but should be back before 9:30 at night, not to worry him. As soon as his sister left, Zhang Zi looked at his watch, which warned him that he had only 10 seconds left to enter the magical domain. Zhang Zi prepared himself, thinking that regardless of whether it ended in glory or disaster, he would give it his all. His watch began emitting rays, and a portal opened around him. Upon entering, a fairy appeared, welcoming him and stating that she would be his guide. Nervously looking around, Zhang Zi asked the fairy if this was the testing ground for newcomers. The fairy told Zhang Zi to choose a name and appearance to use while in the magical domain. Zhang Zi had already thought about it, and he chose the name Asura and the appearance Masked. While picking the name and appearance, Zhang Zi thought that his friends had mentioned this was addictive, so he needed to stay alert and protect himself. His fairy guide agreed with Zhang Zi and used her magic on him, causing him to levitate, and suddenly, a new outfit appeared on his body. The fairy's speech informed Zhang Zi that they were ready to activate his talent. All he had to do was place his hands on the crystal ball in front of him, and his talent would appear automatically. A bit worried, Zhang Zi placed his hand on the crystal ball thinking that it had to be a rank A. He concentrated as much as he could and shouted for an A to come. A yellow light began to appear inside the crystal, and a huge flash occurred. Suddenly the light disappeared, and a bit of smoke came out of the crystal, leaving Zhang Zi puzzled about what was really happening. Zhang Zi asked the fairy if it was over and what his talent was. The fairy, looking at the crystal in astonishment, simply said, "E," in a surprised tone. This left Zhang Zi completely scared, asking the fairy what she meant by A, and urging her to quickly explain what was happening because Zhang Zi didn't like to feel fear in moments like this. The fairy took a closer look and said that Zhang Zi had awakened an SSS ranked talent. This astonished Zhang Zi, who couldn't believe what he was hearing. He asked the fairy if this was really true or if he was seeing things. The fairy confirmed that the talent Zhang Zi had awakened was indeed SSS ranked, legendary. No one in that world had awakened it before. Completely overjoyed, Zhang Zi said that if his awakened talent were S-ranked, he would already be recommended to a renowned academy with unlimited prospects. However, he awakened an SSS-ranked talent. Zhang Zi couldn't even imagine what this could offer him. Finally, Zhang Zi would be able to change his and his sister's lives. The fairy told Zhang Zi that this was the manual explaining his talent. He could read and consult it whenever he wanted. Zhang Zi's talent specifications were 0 experience to 1,000, 10 MP consumption, 60-second cooldown effect. After killing your target, you can summon a replica of it. The replica and the original are completely identical, with no time limit, and it can reach a maximum of 5 levels. Note: Level 1 summoning art can summon 10 replicas. Level 2 art can summon 30 replicas. Reading this, Zhang Zi thinks that his ability is truly sinister. He pauses for a moment to reflect and considers that if he kills a monster, he can summon it. This means Zhang Zi could create an army of monsters and lead a legion of bosses. This is really exciting. Zhang Zi decides to take a look at his character panel, which reads, Name: Asura, number C24, 751176, HP 100, MP 110, damage 1 to 10, speed 10. Attributes: Strength 10, common people have 10 points. Physique 10, common people have 10 points. Spirit 11, common people have 10 points. Agility 10, common people have 10 points. Points that can be allocated to attributes 0, skill, level 1, SSS summoning art, overall rating, beginner novice. Zhang Zi wonders why spirit is 1 point higher than that of other people. He imagines it might be because he came from another world. His fairy guide tells Zhang Zi that he can officially enter the magical domain. The fairy wishes Zhang Zi good luck. Then, the space around Zhang Zi begins to change, and a large arena appears where several people are gathered. A man and a woman call all the beginners, as they are instructors and responsible for explaining the theoretical part of the magical domain. Zhang Zi is surprised by the number of people present with him, but deep down, he is happy to finally be in the real magical domain. There is a small commotion among the people, and in the midst of them, a man announces that he awakened an A-ranked talent, the Celestial Fist. Some people comment on this, expressing envy for the man who truly awakened an A-ranked talent. The other guy next to him says that his talent rating is only B, but he is already happy with that. All of this surprises Zhang Zi because his talent is SSS ranked. Another student falls to the ground completely devastated and crying because his talent is only ranked D. His friend tries to cheer him up, but suddenly, one of the instructors interrupts everyone, telling them to form a line so they can get their weapons. Once everyone is in line, the instructors begin explaining that the magical domain is not just a game. When you die there, you are really dead. The instructor emphasizes that he has seen many enter thinking it would be fun and a game, and all these people met a tragic end. The instructor says it's a lawless battlefield, so they must be careful and protect themselves from beasts and other people. Liars and murderers are everywhere there, so don't trust anyone easily. The other instructor adds that everyone should remember that. To leave the magical domain, they should return to this same place, the altar, as only with the altar could they return home. After the explanation, they began to distribute the weapons, and it finally came to Zhang Zi's turn. The instructor says that Zhang Zi needs to register before choosing his weapon. So, she asks about his talent and ranking. Zhang Zi answers that he is ranked D. The people behind him start laughing. Zhang Zi thinks that there are many people there, so he hid his true ranking. People are cruel and have evil hearts. No matter the strength of your talent, you still run the risk of being stabbed in the back. So Zhang Zi chose to keep a low profile until he really becomes a fighter. While Zhang Zi chooses his weapon, the other men in line start mocking him. The instructor offers a long wooden bow with the following specifications. Class D, damage 10 to 20, no special effects, durability 100 out of 100. The instructor says that this bow would be good for Zhang Zi since his attack is not particularly strong. At least the bow would keep him safe due to its long range. Before Zhang Zi leaves, the instructor says that cautious people always live longer. After finishing the distribution of weapons, the instructor sighs with relief as it has come to an end, feeling quite tired. The instructor approaches her and asks how many people awakened A-ranked talents or higher. After analyzing the list, the instructor says that only 3 of them were able to awaken an A-ranked talent or above. She emphasizes that each time the newcomers get worse than the previous ones. Meanwhile, the newcomers are enthusiastically heading for their first hunt. Someone is shooting at a target, and as the instructor looks, she sees Zhang Zi practicing alone. At that moment, Zhang Zi thinks that a bow is indeed more challenging to use than he imagined, as he has shot numerous times at the target and hit only once. Zhang Zi thinks that in a real fight, he couldn't afford to miss so many times and still doesn't have a creature to summon. Therefore, Zhang Zi believes he shouldn't fight recklessly. Zhang Zi thinks he needs to improve his aim, move quickly, and find the best opportunity to defeat a monster and use his talent. As the hours pass, the pile of arrows increases. Zhang Zi remains completely focused and shoots another arrow, hitting the center of the target precisely. This makes Zhang Zi level up to 4 as an archer. His current accuracy is 80%, and his hand is completely injured from so much training. Zhang Zi puts on his hood and mask, deciding it's time to put everything he trained into practice. He advances into the forest, where there are various monsters scattered everywhere. A brief explanation about magic demons. First floor of magic demons, we can find the violent rabbit, which has high speed, high agility, and low defense. The lava turtle, with high defense, high HP, and low speed. And finally, the boss of the first floor, the dark wolf, with the ability Shadow Claw, unleashing a combo of 5 attacks against the target, causing burns and bleeding. While Zhang Zi is on his way, the other participants are running desperately, asking for help as they have encountered a lava turtle. The turtle attacks the 2 participants, who fall before it. Just as the turtle is about to deliver its final blow, an arrow hits its head, causing the turtle to stop the attack and look at Zhang Zi, who was standing with open arms. Zhang said the turtle was adorable and wanted to be its friend. The turtle apparently did not appreciate that and looked enraged at Zhang, who realized something was wrong. The turtle starts running after Zhang, who runs away screaming. Zhang says it's very scary, but suddenly he spots the altar and runs straight to it. When he gets close, the altar towers identify the turtle as a threat and unleash a beam that deals a critical damage of 191 points to the turtle. The turtle has 10 life points left, and Zhang takes this opportunity to launch his arrows at the turtle, which is already falling to the ground, defeating the monster that begins to transform into energy and turns into a blue orb. This blue orb is a low-grade demon soul orb. Zhang thinks that his idea of using the altar's defense worked perfectly. Quick explanation: the guide of the magic demon. After the monsters in the magic domain die, there is a chance to drop a demon soul orb. The demon soul orbs are classified as low-grade common and high-grade. The color of the demon soul orb represents its attributes. Red represents strength, green represents physique, blue represents spirit, yellow represents agility. Absorbing corresponding demon soul orbs will increase attributes to a certain level. Low-grade demon soul orbs will increase by 0.01 points, common orbs will increase by 0.1 points, and high-grade orbs will increase by 1 point. Zhang thinks that since the low-graded demon soul orb only increases attributes by 0.01 points, he will save it for now, as this orb can be sold for about 1,000 yuan. The system notifies Zhang that he defeated a lava turtle, and now he can summon a replica. The system asks Zhang if he wants to summon it, and Zhang chooses to summon the turtle to experience his talent. A portal opens in front of him, and the turtle appears before his eyes. Zhang is extremely happy with his talent, saying that he finally summoned his first beast while touching the turtle on its face. Zhang smiles satisfied with what he just did and can't contain himself, happily hugging the turtle. Meanwhile, deeper into the forest, other participants are getting beaten up by a violent rabbit. One of the participants asks Ming to stay back. Ming is lying on the ground with his face bleeding after the punch he took from the rabbit. Ming complains about the pain he's feeling, while his companion is dismayed that even with 3 of them, they can't defeat the rabbit in front of them. The day was coming to an end and they were still fighting, but suddenly they hear a noise and look back to check what it could be. As soon as they see a lava turtle approaching them, everyone is startled because now they would have to deal with 2 monsters and were surrounded. As the turtle gets closer to the 3, they notice something strange on the turtle. Once they realize that there is a person mounted on the turtle, they are astonished. Zhang smiles and asks if they are okay. Ming questions why the turtle isn't attacking Zhang, as all the monsters in the magic domain are extremely aggressive. The other 2 participants wonder if it's really possible to tame a monster like that and express envy for Zhang. Ming says there's nothing to envy. It's straightforward to solve. They just need to tame that violent rabbit, and when the time comes, Ming will climb on the rabbit's back and have it carry him through the forest. Even before Ming finishes speaking, the rabbit beats him up again. His 2 friends step forward and ask Ming to stay behind while they fight the rabbit. Ming is crying again, saying that the rabbit has no martial ethics. Ming's friends try in every way to catch the rabbit, but the rabbit is very fast and manages to dodge all the blows. One of the blows ended up hurting the rabbit, which became extremely angry, and its body changed quickly, growing muscles, its eyes turning red, and its teeth sharper than ever. This was the berserker mode of the rabbit. Ming says that now they're screwed. The rabbit got mad. Still, his friends try to control the situation, saying not to fear because the rabbit only has half of its life left. So, if the 3 combine their attacks at the same time, they could defeat the rabbit. But suddenly, 2 more rabbits appear behind the enraged rabbit, leaving the 3 surprised at what was happening there. Meanwhile, a little distant from there, Zhang was walking with his turtle, watching the sunset and saying how beautiful and relaxing it is. A little behind Zhang, we see 3 people running desperately, screaming and saying they were going to die. Yes, these people were Ming and his friends, who flew past Zhang, who didn't understand what was happening. As they ran in front of Zhang, one of them calls Zhang Master Splinter and tells him not to stand still there. Ming emphasizes that if Zhang stays there, he could end up dead. Zhang looks at all of this without understanding anything and decides to see what the 3 were saying. As Zhang looks back, He sees the 3 rabbits running furiously towards him. This terrifies Zhang Ze. One of the rabbits tries to hit Zhang Ze, but he manages to dodge quickly and asks the turtle to use its tail to attack the rabbits. The turtle obeys and strikes all 3 rabbits at once, while Zhang Ze uses his arrows to attack. Zhang Ze realizes that his damage is not as high as that of the beasts attacking him, and even though the turtle is very strong with its defense, it is still quite slow. This means that the turtle would not withstand the various attacks of the 3 rabbits for long. Zhang Ze had to do something to resolve this quickly, or the worst could happen. Zhang Ze decides to give his best, while the turtle strikes the 3 rabbits again. Zhang Ze jumps and shoots several arrows at just one of the rabbits, defeating one of them, which starts to transform into energy. The turtle continues to bravely attack all the rabbits. Even though it is close to being defeated, Zhang Ze, seeing this, tries to motivate his turtle and says that it is doing very well. He asks it to hold on just a little longer. The turtle hits one of the rabbits and throws it into the air. Zhang Ze takes advantage and again shoots several arrows, finishing off another rabbit. While Zhang Ze was focusing on the rabbit he just defeated, the last rabbit jumps and punches the turtle in the head. This makes Zhang Ze very angry. Zhang Ze grabs his bow and shouts that he wouldn't let his first beast die. He shoots several times against the last rabbit. While Zhang Ze was fighting the rabbit, he tells his turtle to return to the matrix so that it doesn't die there. The turtle lowers its head for a moment and closes its eyes. Suddenly, the turtle rises again, leveling up from 1 to 2. The system shows that now the turtle is at level 2 out of 5, experience 1 out of 30, life 400, damage 80 to 100, defense 70, no skill. This leaves Zhang Ze a little shocked. The turtle quickly strikes the last rabbit, defeating it quickly. This gives Zhang Ze 3 more orbs. Zhang Ze happily shouts that they finally won. The system notifies Zhang Ze. Now that you have defeated 3 violent rabbits, you can summon 3 replicas. Do you want to summon them now? Zhang Ze, with a smile on his face, summons the 3 rabbits again. A portal opens in front of him, and the 3 rabbits appear before him. Zhang Ze is extremely excited about what he has just achieved. Now, Zhang Ze has a lava turtle and 3 violent rabbits under his control. The night passes, and the day begins to dawn. The system notifies Zhang Ze that he received a message. Upon opening the message, it said that all students should gather at the altar for an important announcement. Zhang Ze wonders what all this urgency could be. Everyone is already at the altar. A man begins to say that it has been a few days, so everyone should be familiar with the first floor. However, the boss of the first floor is something different that beginners wouldn't be able to defeat easily. This man says that for this reason, the academy invited a fighter from the magic domain. This woman would lead everyone so that they could defeat the boss of the first floor and open the doors to the second floor. The man asks everyone to applaud the fighter present. The fighter introduces herself, saying that her name is Liu Yueying, and her name in the magic domain is Yueying. The newcomers begin to comment on Yueying, saying that she was one of the people who awakened an S-rank talent and was recommended to the prestigious Qing Martial Arts Academy. The newcomers say that she is indeed very talented. Yueying begins to explain that the boss of the first floor, the Dark Wolf, is extremely difficult to deal with. Thus, Yueying hopes that no one underestimates it. She emphasizes that as soon as they go on the hunt, everyone there will have to follow her orders. Should anyone wish to act on their own, they will face severe punishments. After Yueying finishes speaking, the system of everyone shows an invitation from Yueying for them to join her team. The system displays that her name is Yueying, number C2475, 10, 12, name, life, MP, damage, and speed, all are unidentified. Attributes, strength, physique, spirit, agility, points that can be allocated to attributes, all are unidentified. Overall evaluation, experienced swordsman. Zhang Ze, seeing this, begins to think that all key information is restricted. This makes Zhang Ze think that she might be really strong. Zhang Ze wonders if she is stronger than all of his summoned beasts. Zhang Ze thinks that this would be a good test for him to try to defeat the Dark Wolf with his summons. After a few hours, everyone gathers in the forest. As everyone walks, Zhang Ze thinks that for now he should hide his real talent and not summon his beasts, because that could scare the other participants present. Suddenly, 3 beasts appear. 2 of them were violent rabbits, and 1 was a lava turtle. A novice girl is astonished and tells everyone to get ready to attack, but Yueying calmly takes her sword and goes after the 3 beasts, defeating them all quickly. This leaves the other participants amazed at Yueying's incredible strength. With just 1 sword, she was able to defeat all of them at once. The novices wonder if this is the power of a person who awakened an S-rank talent. After Yueying defeats all the beasts there, she turns to the participants as if it's nothing and tells them not to stand still there because they should keep moving forward. Zhang Zhe, after witnessing such a feat, thinks that Yueying is really amazing. Zhang Zhe thinks that maybe it would be better not to try to steal her boss. Night falls, and on top of a mountain, we hear a wolf's howl. The participants hear this and stay alert. A portal opens. Yueying explains that this portal is called the checkpoint and warns that the wolf is about to appear. Yueying emphasizes that if the newcomers don't want to die, they must listen carefully to the orders given to them. Yueying tells everyone that they should always keep a safe distance and not try to attack alone. After Yueying's explanation, the wolf starts coming out of the portal. Yueying is on high alert and prepares for the fight. The newcomers behind her are nervous about everything that is happening. Finally, the dark wolf appears before them, and with the wolf comes a heavy mist that impairs the participants' vision. Yueying, at the forefront of everyone, remains calm and focused. The wolf quickly begins to move alongside Yueying, running from side to side with impressive speed. The novices are scared because they can't even see the dark wolf, let alone fight it. The novices are dismayed by the difficulty of the first floor, trying to imagine how the next floors would be. The wolf finally makes its first attack, trying to hit Yueying, who easily dodges it. Taking advantage of the wolf's low guard, Yueying prepares to counterattack, smoothly turning her body. Yueying applies several consecutive blows to the dark wolf, causing significant damage to the wolf, which falls to the ground already defeated. The novices still don't understand how it ended so quickly, but they are happy to have won. One of the novice girls says that she managed to see what happened and explains that this is Yueying's S-rank talent, the light cut. Zhang Zhe, upon hearing this, wastes no time and immediately opens his system to check what this move called light cut would be. The system shows that the move is called light cut, S-rank, level 1, 378 experience, consumption, 10 MP cooldown 60 seconds, effect attacks the target with fencing skill. Each damage cut is doubled. The last cut will use the doubled effects as a base to release a critical strike and cause immense damage. Note: Level 1. Light cut releases 3 consecutive cuts against the target. Level 2 releases 5 consecutive cuts against the target. Level 3 releases 10 consecutive cuts against the target. Level 4 releases 20 consecutive cuts against the target. Level 5 releases 50 consecutive cuts against the target. Yueying asks if everyone there had the key to move on to the next floor. The novices respond affirmatively and thank Yueying for her feat. Yueying opens her system in the chat channel and explains to her team friends that she was helping the novices pass through the first floor, but was already returning to the 5th floor to assist her team. Her team members say it's okay, and will wait for her to move forward and face the boss of the 5th floor, as Yueying was the team's main damage dealer. Yueying disconnects from the system and informs the novices that they have to pass through the door as soon as possible because the boss would regenerate in an hour. Yueying says her job there is done. She will return to the 5th floor to help her main team defeat the boss of the 5th floor again. The novice notices something strange and asks Yueying to look back. Curious, Yueying turns around to see what was happening. The portal begins to behave differently. Yueying identifies this and realizes that it means the boss has already regenerated. Yueying is confused because it hadn't been an hour since the dark wolf was defeated. But Yueying begins to feel a murderous aura, something unusual for the dark wolf. Then, another wolf appears, but this is a different wolf, belonging to the elite of the dark wolves. The novices are scared by this and start questioning how it could look like an elite boss. The novice tries to reassure the other novices, saying that Yueying was there to protect them. Yueying tells everyone to run away, because if they stay there, they will only hinder the fight. While everyone is running away, Zhang Zhe turns around and looks at Yueying, starting to wonder if Yueying would really be fine, as it was an elite boss. Yueying is a bit apprehensive because an elite boss is equivalent to 5 common bosses. Yueying thinks that because the boss is from the first floor, she probably can handle it. Yueying thinks that the first thing to do is to delay the elite dark wolf so that all the novice players can get out of there. The wolf quickly jumps and tries to hit Yueying, who dodges its attack and again applies her light cut move to the elite dark wolf. This time, her attack did not cause significant damage to the wolf, making Yueying wonder about the defense of this elite wolf. The wolf touches the ground and quickly turns to Yueying, advancing towards her again with incredible speed. This time, Yueying can't dodge enough, and the wolf's attack ends up injuring Yueying, causing cuts and bleeding throughout her body. The system appears and notifies Yueying. You are bleeding. 115 points of life have been lost due to bleeding. Every 10 seconds, 1% of your total life will decrease. If the bleeding continues, you will bleed to death. Yueying is frightened by the speed of the elite wolf. Even though she tries to dodge in every way, she was still wounded by the wolf. Yueying thinks that she cannot admit defeat there, so she tries to attack the wolf again, but the wolf dodges her attack and stands right in front of her. The wolf starts moving quickly and attacks Yueying again, hitting her once more. This time, the attack was accurate and threw Yueying to the ground, wounded and defenseless. The wolf prepares for its final blow. Yueying just looks at this situation without the strength to defend herself from this attack. However, suddenly, some arrows hit the wolf, causing it to stop the attack and focus on Zhang Ze, who manages to save Yueying. Zhang Ze starts waving his arms and, calling the wolf a little puppy, asks it to come to Zhang Ze. Yueying just looks at all this without understanding very well what is happening there. Yueying lowers her gaze and remembers that Zhang Ze was among the novices. Yueying wonders what he was doing there and why he didn't run with the other novices when he had the opportunity. The wolf tries to bite Zhang Ze, but he easily dodges, making it seem like a game and mocking the wolf that just missed the attack. Yueying tries to call Zhang Ze with her shaky voice and tells Zhang Ze not to provoke the elite wolf and to get out of there as quickly as possible, because Zhang Ze wouldn't be able to defeat the elite dark wolf. However, Zhang Ze continues to draw the attention of the wolf to himself while moving away from Yueying, who is lying on the ground without understanding why Zhang Ze, a novice, is doing this. He will end up dying if he continues like this. Zhang Ze, who is running from the wolf, thinks that the wolf still has half of its life, and facing it would be suicide. But Zhang Ze couldn't just stand there doing nothing while watching Yueying in that situation, so he had to do something to make the wolf stop attacking Yueying. While running, Zhang Ze thinks that he can't die there because he has to take care of and protect his little sister. He needs to find an open area so that his summoned beasts can have some advantage over the wolf, but Zhang Ze is almost out of energy. From running so much because the wolf is extremely fast, the wolf finally catches up to Zhang Ze, and as it jumps to attack him, Zhang Ze realizes in time and, with a quick move, dodges the wolf's attack, shouting for his beasts to appear. A portal opens again, and his summonings come out, standing between Zhang Ze and the wolf. Yueying, still lying on the ground, begins to think that this is absurd. A novice wanting to defeat an elite wolf. Yueying thinks that she needs to do something immediately to save him, so she begins to get up and tries to stop the bleeding while thinking about Zhang Ze, asking him to hold on a little longer. Suddenly a woman arrives and uses her green blessing power, starting to heal Yueying. When Yueying turns around, she sees that it's the little princess who is helping. Yueying asks her how she got there. Suddenly the rest of her team appears. The little princess says that everyone came. Yueying's teammates say that what she did was complete madness because you should not face an elite monster alone. She took a great risk doing that. They emphasize that even if the monster is from the first floor, it's still not something Yueying could defeat alone. Yueying looks away, a bit upset with what happened, and apologizes to everyone, saying, "I thought I could handle it alone." Another member of her team interrupts the conversation and asks where the wolf went. Yueying panics, remembering that the dark wolf was after a simple novice. Yueying shouts for them to hurry and save him. The members don't understand how a novice attracted the wolf to himself. Meanwhile, Zhang Ze was facing the wolf with all his summonings. Zhang Ze thinks that, although the wolf is very fast when surrounded by 3 violent rabbits, the wolf's movements would be restricted. Additionally, this helps the turtle, which is very slow, to land a fierce attack on the wolf. Nevertheless, the wolf is still very strong and quickly counterattacks, causing damage to all summoned beasts. Seeing this, Zhang Ze realizes that the wolf's damage is extremely high. Zhang Ze needs to do something quickly so that his summonings don't die during the battle. One of the violent rabbits also reaches level 2. This leaves Zhang Ze very satisfied. After seeing this, Zhang Ze devises a fighting strategy and orders his summonings to do exactly what he was commanding. Then, Zhang Ze orders them to surround the wolf, while the turtle holds the wolf's attack. Once the wolf is surrounded, Zhang Ze shouts for all the violent rabbits to enter berserker mode, but the fight drags on and one rabbit is killed. Shortly after, another rabbit is killed. Seeing this, Zhang Ze becomes furious because they had been fighting for a long time and the wolf wouldn't die at all. Zhang Ze thinks that if he doesn't kill the elite wolf soon, it will become a one-man army. Zhang Ze orders his turtle to attack with all its strength and shouts for the wolf to die. The turtle hits the elite wolf head-on, finally defeating it. Zhang Ze sighs in relief and thinks that this was extremely dangerous. Only 2 beasts and little life remain for Zhang Ze. As soon as the wolf dies, it drops some items, namely Common Grade 4 Demon Soul Orb, Wolf Tooth Necklace 1, Wolf Bone Dagger 1. Zhang Ze, seeing this, thinks that it was expected from an elite wolf. Zhang Ze thinks he will keep the wolf tooth necklace, but the wolf bone dagger isn't very suitable for him. Although the dagger deals good damage, Zhang Ze doesn't like melee combat, so it wouldn't be as useful for him. The system shows that the wolf bone dagger has the following specifications. Grade C, damage 50 to 90, no special effects, durability 100 out of 100. The system also shows that the necklace has Grade C, spirit plus 0.5, no special effects, durability 100 out of 100. Zhang Ze decides to sell the dagger so he can go back and use the money to pay for his sister's treatment. Zhang Ze gets up, pats the head of the last violent rabbit, and thinks that, although he had 2 losses, it was necessary for him to capture the elite dark wolf. Then, Zhang Ze looks forward and summons his new toy, the elite dark wolf. A huge portal opens again, and the wolf appears. The system shows that the wolf has the following data. Level 1 of 5, experience 1 out of 10, life 3000, damage 260 to 380, defense 1500, skill shadow claw. Zhang Ze, seeing this, is extremely happy because its attributes are absolutely incredible. Zhang Ze thinks that the existence of this wolf on the first floor is certainly a miracle. Night falls again and Zhang Ze decides to go back since he still has classes in the morning. After some time, the little princess finds something and notifies her entire team. Finally, they reached where the battle between Zhang Ze and the elite dark wolf took place. Analyzing the ground, they see several marks left by the fierce fight. They definitely know the novice was around. One of them goes searching but quickly returns, saying that they found nothing. Another member says there isn't much they can do. After all, the boy was just a novice. There's no way he could have survived that. He emphasizes that the novice was able to sacrifice his own life to save another person, showing a kind and brave heart. After hearing this, Yueying hangs her head in thought. Yueying simply starts walking and says that she will personally go to the school to find Professor Liu Wei. Certainly, he is the novice's teacher, so if something happened, he will know how to answer. While leaving, Yueying blamed herself for all this, thinking that if the novice really was killed there, the blame was all hers. Zhang Ze was already at his home, and apparently, today was a great day, because Zhang Ze managed to gather several orbs to sell on the trading website. Zhang Ze looks at the system and sees that he has collected 61 low-grade Demon Soul Orbs and 25 common-grade Demon Soul Orbs. Zhang Ze decides to take one of his Strength Orbs and consume it to increase his strength a bit. Zhang Ze thinks that, as the magical domain guide says, if his strength increases there, it will also increase in his real life. Zhang Ze decides that he will test this tomorrow in the school gym. The next day, as soon as Zhang Ze wakes up, his sister is already finishing setting the table for breakfast. She asks Zhang Ze to go wash up while she finishes everything. Zhang Ze tells his sister that he asked her not to spend her time cooking because he could do it. But his sister, smiling, replies that it's just breakfast, no problem. While Zhang Ze brushes his teeth, he thinks that his sister's artificial kidney was depleting. Zhang Ze needed to pay the rent as soon as possible. He also wonders if he should tell his sister that his awakened talent is SSS rank. But as soon as he comes out of the bathroom, he thinks it's better not to say anything to avoid worrying his sister. While Zhang Zhe is drying his face, his sister notices that he came home late last night. She imagines that he didn't awaken such a good talent. So, to protect her brother, she tells Zhang Zhe that the magical domain is very dangerous and says that he doesn't need to go anymore because she has an idea to pay the rent. Zhang Zhe is curious about this and asks his sister what that idea would be. His sister simply says that she has a plan for it. Zhang Zhe finishes his coffee and heads to school, but before leaving, he tells his sister that at her age, she should focus more on studying and not worry about rent. His sister bids him farewell and asks him to be careful at school. In the 5th building, students are discussing their awakened talents. One of them mentions only getting a D-rank talent, while his friend responds that he got a B-rank talent. Meanwhile, Zhang Zhe quietly walks past without drawing attention. While the students chat, Zhang Zhe sits down and takes out his phone again to check his sales. Upon opening his app, he realizes that all the items have been sold. The total sales amount to 198,000 for Zhang Zhe. He decides to withdraw this money and plans to get more orbs when he returns to the magical domain later today. The money he earned is almost enough to buy the kidney for his sister. However, suddenly, the teacher asks everyone to be quiet and inquires if everyone is present. The students notice that Yue Ying is right in front of them. The students start commenting on her, praising her beauty, but Professor Liu Wei interrupts them and mentions an unexpected event during the intense battle against the first-floor boss. Professor Liu Wei asks who helped Yue Ying attract the wolf that day and requests the person to stand up, as Yue Ying would like to express her gratitude personally. The students begin to wonder who could have done such a thing, while Zhang Zhe simply thinks that he doesn't need thanks because he doesn't want to expose himself in front of everyone. As no one in the classroom speaks up, Professor Liu Wei tells Yue Ying that the person who helped her probably isn't from this class. Yue Ying agrees and asks the teacher to inform her immediately if he learns anything. Professor Liu Wei agrees and suggests that Yue Ying should return to her classroom for now. While the two talked outside the classroom, students speculated about the hero who saved Yue Ying. One student near Zhang Zhe says he knows who saved her. Worried, Zhang Zhe tries to disguise it and asks who his classmate was, saying that while all the novices were running, one student stayed behind, and if he remembers correctly, that novice's name was Asura. Zhang Zhe tries to navigate the situation by asking if he is sure, because Asura might have just gotten nervous and run the other way. His classmate says to forget about it, and invites Zhang Zhe to hunt some monsters tonight since he had already invited 2 girls. Zhang Zhe smiles and says he can't go because he has to work at the martial arts salon. His classmate notices something and asks Zhang Zhe if his sister needs money again. Zhang Zhe says yes, but assures that everything is fine because he is taking care of it. His classmate is reassured and says it's okay, suggesting that if Zhang Zhe enters the magical domain tonight, he should look for him. His name in the magical domain is Chubby Hunk. Classes come to an end, and Zhang Zhe goes to the gym to work. While cleaning, Zhang Zhe thinks that if he can sell a few more orbs, he probably won't need to work there anymore. While Zhang Zhe was cleaning, a group of people was looking at someone named Zheng. Everyone was praising him because Zheng had just lifted 507 caddies, 7 caddies more than required to be admitted to the prestigious Qing Martial Arts Academy. Moreover, Zheng's awakened talent is ranked A, so his future was almost certain. Zheng says that this is nothing yet, as there are many stronger people out there. His friend says he's being too modest, except for the goddess Yue Ying. Zheng was the strongest there, and he dares not compare himself to the goddess Yue Ying. Zheng says she was blessed by the gods with an S-rank talent and was recommended for admission to the prestigious academy. At the Qing Martial Arts Academy, Zheng emphasizes that he would be happy to have half of Yue Ying's strength. Once everyone leaves, Zhang Zhe is alone in the room, wondering if he is really strong. Zhang Zhe punched the machine, scoring 497 points, leaving him very pleased. Even when he trained every day before, his strength never exceeded 390. Zhang Zhe thinks that absorbing only one high-quality orb has already brought such a significant breakthrough, making him very excited. So, Zhang Zhe decides that he will definitely enter the magical domain tonight. Suddenly, a message arrives on his phone from his sister, saying that she would be going out again to study at a friend's house and would return late. She asked her brother to prepare dinner tonight. This leaves Zhang Ze a bit intrigued, thinking that his sister has been doing this every night, but for now, he doesn't have time to investigate. The most important thing at the moment is to quickly go to the magical domain and obtain more demon soul orbs. Again, we are in the arena, where several students are gathered. Zhang Ze opens the system, which shows that he currently has 3 beasts: the elite dark wolf, a lava turtle, and a violent rabbit. He has 7 empty slots for new beasts. Zhang Ze thinks that it's not a good idea to go directly to the second floor, as it is quite dangerous. First, he should master the 10 beasts on the first floor. So, Zhang Ze begins his hunt and calls his little friend to accompany him, the elite dark wolf. Zhang Ze, all happy next to his wolf, thinks that with the dark wolf's damage, he will definitely be able to defeat any monster on the first floor. But what he really wants is more lava turtles. The first lava turtle is found, and they start to fight. Zhang Ze sends his wolf to attack while he stays back with his bow and arrows. Quickly, he defeats several monsters one after another, and about an hour later, he already has an army of monsters at his command. Finally, he is ready to move on to the second floor. Suddenly, he hears some screams for help. Upon closer inspection, it's some rookies running out of a portal, and one of these rookies is his classmate Wang Yang, or if you prefer, the chubby hunk. As Yang ran, he shouted to the older brothers, chiefs, not to kill them, for they were just novices. Thus, there was nothing of value with them. However, the 2 brothers continued to chase them, saying that they already knew they were novices and also knew there was nothing of value with them. Yet the brothers wanted to kidnap them and ask for money from their closest relatives in the real world. Meanwhile, Zhang remained hidden, watching all this and thinking, once someone's identity is exposed in the magical realm, criminals can take advantage of their fake identities to kidnap them. Through blackmail, it's hard to discover who these guys really are, even if the police are called. When this happens, it's difficult to rescue the hostages, even after the ransom is paid, as the criminals still choose to kill them to keep their identities hidden. Yang screamed, saying his family was poor and had no money. Thus, he pleaded for the bandits to leave him alone. However, the bandits didn't care, thinking Yang was just lying to them, as a few hours before, Yang was with 2 girls and had said his family owned a luxury house and expensive cars. Then, one of the bandits decided to use one of his powers, and all the ground below Yang turned into quicksand. The 3 found themselves trapped, wondering which talent ability this could be. Suddenly, Yang felt something on his neck. It was one of the bandits who, with an axe in his hand, told Yang to give up his parents' contact, or he would die right there. But Yang, even though terrified, said in a trembling voice that he would not give them any contact. The bandit began to laugh and said it's always the same story. Everyone is brave until they lose a hand. Then they become very obedient. Then he raised his axe, but out of nowhere, an arrow came in his direction and hit his arm, preventing him from doing anything. The bandit turned around and shouted that there was a hidden archer around. However, the bandit was extremely furious and asked who dared to attack him from behind. Thus, Zhang appeared next to a tree. The system showed his name as Asura. He looked directly at them and asked how a bunch of trash like them dared to commit such a terrible act. Another bandit, as soon as he noticed Zhang's presence, warned the others and started running towards him. Then, Zhang began to run. The leader of the bandits went into the woods after Zhang. He said Yang and his friends would be stuck there for an hour, so they had time to catch Zhang, as he wanted to cut him into pieces. Zhang kept running while the bandits chased him, until finally, Zhang arrived where he really wanted, a place where the terrain is surrounded by 3 mountains and has only one exit. Zhang continued running into that path, but suddenly, Zhang stopped and turned to the bandits who were laughing at him, for Zhang had run into a dead end and now was trapped with no way to escape. The bandits began to smile and say that just killing him was a waste of time. First, they should take everything he has. The leader said for his group to count themselves, as he wanted to savor the torture. Zhang looked at them and asked if killing people in the magical realm prevents people from the outside from finding out. The leader of the bandits started walking towards Zhang and told him to relax, as no one would know he was going to die there. Zhang crouched down and thanked them for clearing up that doubt he had. Then, energy began to emanate from his hand. Zhang summoned his monsters and asked them to give a warm welcome to the guests. Then, several circles on the ground started to appear around the bandits, and in a few seconds, an army of monsters appeared and surrounded them. The leader of the bandits was astonished by this, wondering how all these beasts appeared out of nowhere and all together. The thieves said there were too many beasts, and the terrain they were on put them at a complete disadvantage. Then the leader yells for everyone to run away, but as soon as they start running, a dense fog begins to cover the path, and in the midst of this fog, only a pair of eyes shining with blue flames appear. Then, the wolf emerges from the mist. They begin to tremble, for it was not just any dark wolf, but an elite dark wolf. Zhang from behind them loudly says, as they themselves had said before, "No one will know that he killed everyone here." Then, Zhang orders his beasts to kill everyone there. The bandits start to run and scream in desperation, but it's too late. The dark wolf begins its attack, wounding several of the bandits quickly. The lava turtles also begin to attack, one by one, mercilessly. And lastly, the violent rabbits surround the leader of the bandits, and without mercy, quickly finish him off. In a few seconds, several bodies were lying on the ground everywhere, and among them, there was only Zhang. Standing, Zhang says that they had committed various crimes and terrible things, and therefore, did not deserve to live. Zhang takes advantage and starts to collect the items the bandits had, as there was much of value there. Zhang finds a letter, and the system window opens and notifies that this item is the Berserker Talisman Grade C. The special effect is to allow a person, within 3 meters, to enter rage mode. The durability is 100 seconds and it can be used only once. Zhang thinks this could be very useful in the future, so he decides to keep it. Zhang starts to walk and says that it's enough playing around. It's time to head to the 2nd floor. Then he goes to the portal, but before he could enter, Yang and his friends come running, calling him hero. Yang says he knew he was all right, and thanks to the help Zhang had given them before, everyone there was fine. One of the girls, smiling, says she wanted to thank him personally, for he had saved their lives. Yang, crying, grabs Zhang's hand and says that kind-hearted heroes like him are very rare nowadays. Then, Yang offers 1,000,000 yuans as a reward and asks if that was enough. But Zhang responds that he doesn't need to pay him anything, for he just didn't want to see those trash harming anyone. Zhang asks them to be more careful next time, but in reality, Zhang was thinking that Yang really was very wealthy. However, if Zhang accepted that money, his identity would be revealed as soon as the transfer was made to him, so it's better to leave it as it is. Zhang says goodbye and starts to enter the portal. Meanwhile, Yang thought he was a hero. One of the girls was in love with him, thinking he was very handsome. Finally, we are at the entrance of the magical realm, 2nd floor. Zhang, seeing this, thinks he could never have imagined that the 2nd floor of the magical realm would be a cavity. Zhang was right in the middle of the arena, surrounded by other people who were shouting to form teams. But Zhang remains silent. While people were still shouting, trying to form teams, Zhang starts to read a book and thinks it's still better for him to continue alone. The book shows that the monsters on this floor are poisonous spider, skilled in the use of its venomous fangs, spits threads to make webs. Once caught in the spider web, it's impossible to move for a period of time. Vampire bat, although its damage is not high, it comes and goes like a shadow and can suck blood to recover its life. The boss of this floor is the Sky Devourer frog, has a huge constitution, with hard skin and thick flesh. Common attacks tend not to damage it. Skills, thunder, can force a target within a certain distance into a stunned mode and, simultaneously, cause damage. Zhang was walking through a cave while reading his book and thinks that, apparently, the monsters on the 2nd floor are relatively stronger than those on the 1st floor. Zhang was distracted reading the book, and a venomous spider web was very close to his head, but he quickly realizes and manages to dodge it. As soon as he looks up, he sees a poisonous spider. It was ready to attack him, but Zhang quickly summons his beasts again, and 2 violent rabbits come out of the portal and charge at the spider. But the spider quickly throws its web at one of the rabbits, immobilizing it. Then, the spider uses its venom on the rabbit, which begins to inflict damage rapidly. Seeing this, Zhang thinks that the spider's damage is not strong, but as soon as the venom comes into contact with the body, the health points start dropping quickly. So, Zhang orders all his beasts to attack at once, and they easily defeat the spider. The system appears and notifies that the venomous spider has been defeated. Zhang doesn't seem very pleased as he sacrificed a rank 2 rabbit for just a venomous spider. And on top of that, it only left behind 2 low-grade demonic soul orbs as a reward. Zhang summons his spider. As soon as it appears, the system shows its specifications. Name, venomous spider, level 1 of 5, experience 1 of 10, life 300, damage 100 to 150, defense 200, ability, none. Zhang thinks that, as expected of the monsters on the second floor, their attributes are more notable than those of the violent rabbits and the lava turtles. Zhang continues walking through the cave and starts to think that, so far, he has only defeated 2 venomous spiders. Although the monsters on the second floor are stronger than those on the first floor, there seem to be far fewer monsters. But, without Zhang realizing it, there are 4 red eyes right behind him. Then, suddenly, 2 vampire bats attack Zhang from behind. However, Zhang notices and quickly turns around, summoning his beasts again. His beasts start emerging from the portal again. Zhang thinks that, fortunately, his summoning ability has improved, allowing him to summon his beasts faster. Otherwise, the surprise attack by the vampire bats could have ended very badly. Zhang orders his beasts to kill them all. Then, the battle begins, and apparently, Zhang's beasts are doing well. But one of the bats bites one of his beasts and almost completely restores its life. Seeing this, Zhang thinks he needs to change his strategy and focus on one bat at a time. Otherwise, this would never end. So Zhang summons his venomous spider and orders it to use its venom, which hits both bats at once. Zhang starts to smile, as the venom causes damage over time, and because of this, interrupts the bat's blood-sucking. Zhang orders again that everyone attack, but this time the same bat. With that, the bats start to take several hits and can't retaliate. Then, Zhang defeats the 2 bats, but he notices that, to defeat the 2 bats, he had again suffered losses among his beasts. Zhang starts to analyze that only his strongest beasts would really be able to survive there on the second floor. Zhang summons the bats and says he now has 8 relatively strong beasts. So, he decides to face the second floor's boss. But as Zhang gets closer, he realizes that everyone is there, including several people arguing over who would try to fight the second floor's boss first. Everyone there was just arguing among themselves and saying that the experts and stronger ones were on the higher floors and didn't care about a bunch of novices. Zhang just watches all this in silence. Suddenly a group of people yells for everyone there to shut their mouths. A man says he had already reserved the right to fight against the sky-devouring toad. He emphasizes that anyone who could read should just read what was written on the sign. To fight the boss, pay 10 demonic soul orbs. He adds that those who are poor wouldn't be able to fight, so they should leave. But this ends up generating more discussion, as people find it very strange. They want to charge for such a feat. However, the group that was charging says they also had to pay fees, so they ask once more if anyone else would like to fight, as there was still 1 spot available. Zhang raises his hand and says he would fight. Zhang says that unfortunately, he does not have the 10 demonic orbs, as he had entered the magical domain just yesterday. However, Zhang offers payment in gold, offering 10 gold bars. The man who was charging asks if it was really gold. Zhang confirms, saying his family is wealthy, so if they allow him to enter and fight the boss, payment would not be an issue for them. The man hugs Zhang and says it's good this story isn't a lie, because if it turns out to be false at payment time, the consequences would be unimaginable. Zhang tells him not to worry, as he wouldn't dare lie about something so serious. Then, the man agrees and calls Zhang, saying he would show him where the second floor boss is located. Zhang thinks it's been too easy to deceive them, so the group starts moving through the cave. As they reach the end of the cave, there's a man standing there. The group leader calls this man Captain and says that since everyone is here, they could proceed to face the boss. The system opens up and reveals this man is named Super Money Machine Man. His rating is that of an experienced fighter. People start thinking that, from what they've learned, anyone with experience in their rating can't be weak. Another man beside him emphasizes that it's better for everyone to stay close when the captain is fighting the monster, to pay attention and obey every command of his. With the whole team formed and together, they advance again. Zhang is surprised by the place, as there's another tunnel on this side of the cave. The captain says this is a world of its own, and right ahead of them there's a huge frog, which is the boss of the second floor. Zhang is stunned by what's in front of him, as the frog is indeed large and has a terrifying appearance. Zhang can't believe the size of the monster. The captain starts to take off his shirt and asks others to keep their distance, as he's going to start the fight. The captain jumps towards the frog, and fire begins to emanate from his hands. He starts a fierce and quick sequence of punches on the frog. Those watching think the captain is truly extremely powerful. Another group member says that with just this sequence of punches, the frog's life dropped by 1/3 while the captain fought. His specifications appear in the system window. Flaming Punch A Level 1. Experience, 612 of 1000. MP consumption, 10. Cooldown time, 60 seconds. Effect, unleashes numerous consecutive attacks in a short time. Note: Flaming Punch Level 1 unleashes 10 consecutive punches in a short time. Flaming Punch Level 2 is 30 consecutive attacks in a short time. Flaming Punch Level 3 is 50 consecutive punches in a short time. Flaming Punch Level 4 is 100 consecutive punches in a short time. Flaming Punch Level 5 is 300 consecutive punches in a short time. Meanwhile, the fight continues, and the frog launches a giant fireball, but the captain easily dodges it. The explosion from the attack, as soon as it hit the wall behind, startled the other group members. The captain uses his flaming punch again and starts rapidly striking the frog's head. Zhang, seeing this, thinks the frog still has half its life, so he needs to calculate perfectly to land a fatal arrow and deliver the last blow to the frog. The captain prepares to kill the frog and shouts for it to die. While the captain was finishing off the frog, Zhang saw the opportunity he had been waiting for. So he takes his bow and arrow, aims carefully, and fires. The arrow hits the boss frog's eye, but it wasn't enough to kill it. However, the frog becomes enraged and knocks down the captain. The boss frog is now focused on Zhang. The group leader said they were supposed to stand aside and do nothing. So, why did this boy try to do that? Another group member from behind shouts, saying they shouldn't let Zhang kill the boss frog, because if that happens, all the rewards would go to him. The frog starts chasing Zhang, but as the group was about to do something, the captain stands in front of the portal and crosses his arms, saying no one should do anything because a novice tried to steal the rewards. So, he should die. The captain orders everyone to stand still there while the frog burns Zhang alive. Zhang hears this and becomes a bit apprehensive. The members obey their captain and stand still, commenting that this guy, with just a bow and arrows, is overestimating himself, trying to face the boss alone. Clearly, he is asking to be killed. The difference in strength between them is obvious. Any fool can see that it's not worth taking such a risk. Greed will kill him. Even if, by some miracle, he manages to defeat the frog boss, he won't make it out of here alive. While they just watched, Zhang was fiercely fighting the frog boss, easily dodging the boss's fire attacks. But as soon as the frog boss would be killed, the captain and his team would not let Zhang leave there alive. Tired of hiding, Zhang decides to use his innovations. Then, his crossbows appear surrounding the boss. This surprises everyone there with such a skill. The captain starts to watch attentively, as he had never seen or heard of a talent as strong as this. The monsters start attacking the frog boss. A notification appears saying the frog boss is weakened. Zhang takes advantage of this situation and starts firing several arrows that hit the frog boss right in the face. The system notifies that the boss has been defeated. Zhang starts to laugh. This leaves people astonished that Zhang actually managed to defeat the boss without even a scratch. They thought this impossible, for Zhang was just a novice. In front of Zhang there were several orbs, but as he was collecting the rewards, the whole group comes close to him saying, now it makes sense why he had tried to steal the boss, because he really had a trick up his sleeve. The whole group surrounded Zhang, saying he should return all the rewards he had collected, and still give the 10 gold bars. Otherwise, he wouldn't leave there alive. Zhang says he can't believe what he's hearing. How they dare say something so ridiculous, since they blocked the entrance and charged an exorbitant amount for people to enter. If you hadn't done that, clearly Zhang would have defeated the monster alone just the same. So why should Zhang comply with what you want? Zhang points out that he had a great loss in this battle, as a lava turtle, a venomous spider, and a vampire bat died. However, there is still the elite shadow wolf, so defeating all of you won't be a big problem. The captain catches Zhang's attention, saying his talent really is something incredible, but unfortunately, it's useless. Then the captain jumps and with just one strike kills Zhang's vampire bat. The captain says it doesn't matter how many beasts Zhang can summon. When facing a true expert, they are worth nothing. Zhang gets angry and says he just wanted to kill the boss, grab the key, and go back. But now things have changed. You are forcing me to do what I didn't want to do. But when the fight was about to start, someone from the back shouts for them to stop what's happening. This person shows a badge, saying he is a member of the disciplinary committee of the Magic Domain Administration team, and for that reason he has the order. The system shows that the name of this person is Divine Retribution Network. Zhang thinks it's strange to see this man there, as the disciplinary committee is a senior administration team. They conduct secret investigations to collect evidence and look for non-compliant teams. Although his position is not very high, they possess great authority. Seeing this, Zhang thinks he can relax a bit. One of the captain's subordinates says that if this guy reports everything they did there to the senior section chief, they would be lost. So they should fight with everything they have against them. The council agent says he had already recorded everything they did and would pass it on to the superiors. Then, he asks for everyone there to surrender peacefully. The captain smiles and says that unfortunately they wouldn't have that opportunity. The Magic Domain Administration agent gets a bit scared and asks if they intend to cover up the case by killing them there. And suddenly, Zhang and the agent were surrounded. The agent takes his weapon and tells Zhang not to be afraid, as he would protect him. The agent tells Zhang that the talent he has shown is something unparalleled and very promising. As soon as they manage to get out of there and arrest everyone, the agent says he will introduce Zhang to the committee. Then the fight begins. One of the captain's henchmen rushes forward, but the agent uses his ice beam and freezes him instantly. Another henchman is surprised, as the agent has an A-rank talent. However, the captain says they need not worry, as they have the numerical advantage and the recharge time for that ability is 60 seconds. This would give them the upper hand. The captain orders all his henchmen to attack at once. They charge fearlessly, but the agent skillfully dodges one of their blows and counterattacks with a kick that sends the henchman flying. The agent smiles and says he was an honor student who graduated from the Tongchuan Martial University. Did they really think he was just a four-eyed nerd? The agent emphasizes that reinforcements would soon arrive. So, it's better for everyone there to surrender at once, as none of them can escape legal sanctions. But they continued mocking, saying in their wildest dreams they would not surrender. Then, this man named Lao San uses a spell on the captain's body, who thanks him for it. The captain then quickly jumps with his hands on fire towards the agent, who uses his ice beam again. But it has no effect, as the spell Lao San used on the captain is a B-rank magical resistance spell. For 10 seconds, nothing that is magic will cause damage or effect on the user's body. The agent can't believe it. He then asks Zhang to run away while he can, as the damage from the flaming punch is too high. They wouldn't be able to withstand that attack, but the captain says none of them would escape there alive. The captain prepares his strike and yells for them to die. The agent, with no defensive reaction, just screams in fright, but something stops the captain's strike. As the agent looks, it's a lava turtle that had appeared right in front of him. On top of the turtle, a venomous spider had thrown its web at the captain to hold him for a while. Zhang says the agent could rest now, as he himself would take care of everything. The agent is startled and asks if Zhang is crazy to want to face them head-on like this, but Zhang smiles and says he wouldn't even need to move to defeat them, as others would fight for him. Then, Zhang begins his summoning, and again a dense fog starts to spread throughout the place. The other subordinates ask where it's coming from. Then, an elite shadow wolf steps out of the portal, walking. This leaves them completely frightened, as right in front of Zhang there was a shadow wolf under his command. The captain finally manages to free himself from the venomous spider's web, but as soon as the fog passes behind Zhang, the second-floor boss frog is right behind him. People there start screaming that this isn't possible. They wonder if it was really Zhang who summoned them, while others thought it was a glitch in the magical domain, as two bosses appeared in the same place. But in the end, people understood that it was indeed Zhang who had called the bosses there, and this left them even more surprised, as they thought he was only capable of summoning lesser beasts. A man says this is unfair. How can a talent be so unbalanced as to summon bosses? The woman next to him says the talent must be an A rank, but the man says it's clearly an S rank talent or even higher. Lao San asks the captain what they should do now. The captain, with a serious face, says they have no choice but to fight. Then he focuses and says they could leave the two bosses to him, and the rest of the members should kill Zhang. The agent and the captain leap to attack. The agent tells Zhang to be very careful, but Zhang does not move and only orders his beast to attack. Then the two bosses begin the battle against the captain. The captain manages to dodge the wolf and lands a blow on the frog that takes away a third of its life. The frog tries to hit the captain again, but he dodges and lands another blow, leaving the frog with only a third of its life. Zhang, analyzing the situation, thinks that he expected this from an expert. He plans to eliminate the frog before dealing with the dark wolf. Lao San starts laughing and shouting at Zhang, asking if he really thought he could defeat their captain like that. Lao San emphasizes that the captain had already killed many frogs like that, so this little power Zhang uses is nothing. The agent, seeing this, thinks that the captain really is very strong, as the defense of the sky-devouring frog is weak, so it won't be able to last much longer. Zhang, still very calm, says that since that's the case, then he will have to really show them something powerful. Zhang takes out his Berserker Talisman card. This shocks the agent. Zhang throws it to the elite dark wolf and orders it to kill everyone there. As soon as the card touches the wolf's skin, it starts to disintegrate, and a red aura begins to cover the wolf. Then the wolf opens its eyes, which now glow red, showing a murderous and cold look. The wolf roars, shaking the entire cave. The captain realizes that the wolf's killing intent is uncontrollable. Lao San and his friends realize that the wolf is clearly out of control and has entered berserker mode. The wolf, standing in front of the captain, drooling with the desire to kill. The captain, looking at the wolf, starts to think about how it entered berserker mode without the captain having attacked. He starts to run. As he runs, he looks back and thinks that clearly an elite dark wolf in berserker mode would be impossible for him to defeat. So, to save his life, the captain decides to flee. Zhang looks at this and asks if the captain really is going to try to flee, as now it seems a bit too late to try to escape. The wolf catches up quickly, and a strong fog covers all of the captain's vision. Then, several attacks begin, and the captain starts to take damage, one after another, without the slightest chance of defense. The captain continues to receive all the hits from the dark wolf. Lao San screams for his captain, but their captain falls to his knees, and with a trembling voice, begins to wonder if this kid is really that powerful. The captain understands that all this is his fault, for he completely underestimated his opponent. Then, the captain begins to fall, and the system notifies that he has just been killed. Lao San and his friends are trembling with fear and say that this kid is terrifying. They need to get out of there as fast as possible. So they start to run, but the red eye of death is behind them. The wolf begins to attack one after another. Then, Zhang calls his beast back and says that this was just a lesson for everyone there. The agent thinks that Zhang's talent is something scary. Such a talent must be controlled by the government, otherwise the consequences will be unimaginable. After everything is over, the agent's reinforcements arrive at the location. The agent says that they were there, and now all those who remained would be arrested. Then Zhang doesn't want to know, and immediately goes to see the items left by the captain. And as expected, he had many good things. The system opens again, and shows that the loot from the money-making Superman were 2 high-grade demonic soul orbs, 18 common-grade demonic soul orbs, and 77 low-grade demonic soul orbs, 2 blood tonics, an invitation card, and 3 pieces of armor. As soon as Zhang picks up one of the armor pieces, he sees something underneath. He picks it up in his hand and wonders what it is. The system opens again, saying that this is an invitation card to the Death Zone, Grade C, Level 1, a one-time pass to enter the Death Zone. Zhang doesn't understand very well what this Death Zone is, as there was nothing written about it in the Magic Domain Guide, but Zhang decides to leave it for later. First, he needs to absorb those high-grade orbs. The agent runs up to Zhang, saying that he had been amazing just now. The agent asks Zhang if he has any interest in joining the Magic Domain Management team to serve the nation. Zhang apologizes, but declines, saying that unfortunately, it doesn't fit into his plans at the moment. The agent is a bit confused by this response, but understands and says that everyone has their goals in life, so he would respect that decision. The agent writes down his contact number on a piece of paper and hands it to Zhang, saying that if he changes his mind, he just needs to contact him through this number. Zhang thanks him again and says he will think it over. As Zhang turns to enter the portal, the agent shouts that he needs to say one more thing before he goes. Zhang turns around. The agent says that no matter how strong Zhang becomes in the future, he should always remember that the blood of Great Xia flows within him. So the agent hopes that Zhang won't do things that would disappoint the nation and its people. Zhang turns back to the portal and says he can rest easy, because he is also a citizen of Great Xia. After that, Zhang enters the portal that leads him to an ecosystem entirely different from the previous one. In the center of the arena, Zhang looks around and thinks that apparently, there are far fewer people here compared to the first 2 floors. He figures that the higher the floor, the more powerful the monsters and the greater the dangers. So without sufficient power, one naturally shouldn't take unnecessary risks. Zhang picks up the book again to see what monsters are on this floor. Goblin Warrior, Goblin Thrower. Apparently this floor deals with more humanoid monsters, instead of beasts or insects. Zhang thinks that things are finally starting to get more interesting. But Zhang notices that it's getting quite late, so he decides to head back. Back at his home as he enters, Zhang notices that all the lights are off. He goes to Xiaofeng's room and knocks on the door, but no one answers. So he decides to open it and realizes that there's no one there. It's late at night, and she still hasn't returned. Then, Zhang remembers she had mentioned going to a friend named Pan Pan's house. So he decides to pick up his phone and call her, but as soon as he picks up his phone, he sees that there are 15 missed calls. He calls back immediately. As soon as Pan Pan answers, Zhang says he's Xiaofeng's brother. Pan Pan asks why he took so long to answer the phone. She tells Zhang to rush to the Yunding dance club because his sister is in danger. This leaves Zhang in a panic. He runs out, thinking along the way that this is the most luxurious club in the city. What was his sister doing there at this hour? As he arrives, 2 security guards at the door ask what he thinks he's doing there, dressed like that. Zhang starts to get irritated. Several things go through his mind at that moment. He thinks she was working in that place, but that doesn't matter at the moment, because if anyone dares to touch her, no one would be spared. Quickly, Zhang knocks down the 2 security guards in a matter of seconds and continues running into the club. Inside the club, there are some people, and a man is telling them to stop the nonsense and accompany young Master Chung for a drink. So why was she making all this fuss? The man offers a card saying there's 10,000 in it, so she should just get on with it and start drinking. He throws the card on the ground and says that if she works there, she's a nobody, so it's better to stop joking and do what he's telling her. Her friend steps in front of Xiaofeng, saying she would accompany Chung instead of Xiaofeng, but the man pushes the employee, saying Chung had already chosen the other girl, so that's what he would have, period. The man touches Xiaofeng's face and starts yelling at her, saying she should serve their distinguished guest well. Otherwise, suddenly, someone from behind asks what would happen if she didn't do that. That person was Zhang, coming in with a look of terror. Zhang says he doesn't care who he is or where this is. If anyone dares to touch a hair on his sister's head, he would break both legs of anyone daring to do so. Xiaofeng screams for her brother. A man from behind asks Zhang how he dares to offend the Tianqing group. Does he not fear death? The people around think that now Zhang was screwed, as he was messing with the Tianqing group. Xiaofeng's friend thinks that things are definitely out of control, as the Tianqing group has a lot of influence in Zhangbei, not to mention that they have hired many fighters from the magic domain. Zhang bends down and picks up the card from the ground. The man smiles and says he likes obedient people, but Zhang holds the card and asks if he really wanted to buy his sister with this card. Then, Zhang throws the card, saying it would never happen in his dreams, but quickly someone jumps in front of the man and catches the card. Zhang's sister, seeing this, thinks the guy was so fast that she barely saw him. The chubby man orders everyone there to grab Zhang, and after beating him up, break his legs. Then, the guards rush towards Zhang, but suddenly, a woman yells for them to stop. She asks why they were making all this mess in the Yunding Club. Don't they have any respect for her at all? This woman is named Zhang. She was wondering who he could be. She smiles and says, he is Wu Tiancheng. Then she calls him Boss Wu and asks if he is so free to visit her club. She thinks Wu Tiancheng has never been a good person, so today she should humiliate this guy. Then he comes and says that the young women working there are worthless and do not behave well. He and his friend are not satisfied with the service there. Zhang responds that he is a generous man. Why would he waste his time arguing with just 2 kids like them? So, it's better to let it go for today. Then, Wu Tiancheng starts to say he will not let it go because she can't even properly control her employees. Clearly, Tianfeng City should find a new leader. Zhang smiles and says, Wu Tiancheng is welcome to have fun in Tianfeng City whenever he wants. But she points her finger and says if he came there to bully the citizens of her city, then he might as well go back to Jiangbei. After that, the people there start to celebrate and say that's right. Jiang is correct. Wu Tiancheng starts to laugh and says they are all fools, because if it wasn't for the donations he makes to help train fighters in the magic domain and prevent monster invasions, they would all be dead by now. In the future, only the strong will be able to enjoy life. Wu Tiancheng points to Xiaofeng and says he will definitely take her with him today. This leaves her very scared. Zhang says that if that's the case, then he shouldn't blame her for what's going to happen now. She prepares to strike him. But again, the same guy quickly steps in front and with extreme ease throws her away. Wu Tiancheng starts to laugh and says this is the power of the only S rank of the last decade. Wu Tiancheng orders his guards to grab Xiaofeng and take her. Then he asks who there would dare to stop him. Just as they were about to grab her, someone quickly grabs her by the shoulder and yells for them to take their hands off her, hitting one of them with a knee to the face. Chung, seeing this, gets excited. Zhang repeats that anyone who tries to touch his sister, he would have no mercy. Chung says Zhang is really fast. Wu Tiancheng asks if he's also a fighter from the magic domain. Zhang gets up and asks what Zhang's agility attribute is because he is very fast. Chung, seeing all this movement, thinks that he recently raised his agility points to 11, which is infinitely faster than the speed of an ordinary person, but Zhang's speed is still greater than his. Chung says he wants to introduce himself formally. Then he starts saying his name is Chung, a third-year high school student from Longhu. Chung asks Zhang's name, who replies that he is a third-year student from the 5th high school in Tianfeng City, and his name is Zhang. Chung says he didn't expect both of them to be in the same year. Then, he suggests they should compare grades, but Zhang turns away with his sister and says he's not interested. Chung doesn't like this attitude much. Zhang notices something different, turns quickly, and breaks a bottle with a kick that Chung had thrown at him. Chung is surprised, saying Zhang really is very fast. But unfortunately, if Chung didn't give permission, neither Zhang nor his sister Feng would leave there. Zhang shouts that Chung is extremely strong. The weight of his punch is at least 200 caddies, so they should be very careful with him. Zhang hears this and doesn't care, just asks his sister to step back a bit, that they would go home soon, as he was only going to beat Chung first. Chung says he was looking for an opponent of his level at the school in Jiangbei, but didn't find one. However, Chung says he is very lucky to have found Zhang right there. Chung says he hopes Zhang doesn't disappoint him. Suddenly, Chung jumps with terrifying speed to attack Zhang. Zhang, seeing this, gets worried, as apparently Chung was hiding his real power. This punch at this speed must weigh at least 1,000 caddies, but Zhang easily dodges Chung's attack. Zhang thinks his strength is in speed, so he needs to use this as his main attack. Zhang punches Chung, who defends with his arm. Chung says Zhang is quite strong, but still not compared to him. But in the blink of an eye, Zhang disappears from Chung's view, as he was moving with extreme speed. Then he appears behind Chung, and as soon as Chung notices, thinks this speed really is impressive, he manages to defend again with his arm. However, this time, he really feels the strength of the punch and starts to wonder how Zhang is so fast. Zhang disappears again with his speed, leaving Chung wondering how many agility points Zhang must have to be so fast. Tiancheng, seeing the absurd speed of Zhang, is shocked, as he didn't imagine that there was such a strong talent there, in such an insignificant place. Tiancheng thinks that this time he was very careless with his attitudes. Zhang lands a punch on Chung's back, causing him to scream in pain as he is thrown forward. Panpan is surprised by this, and says she always thought Zhang was just a very kind person. She really didn't imagine that he had such great strength hidden. Feng smiles, proud of her brother, and says he was just being modest. Zhang continues to be apprehensive, watching the fight. Chung realizes he's not at the advantage he thought he would be, so he jumps and recomposes himself. However, he's feeling a strong pain in his arm, as he had defended twice with the same arm. Zhang notices this and says that Chung could no longer lift his arm. Then, he asks if he really still wanted to continue. The two stare at each other for a while. Then, Tiancheng shouts and tells Chung that a wise man would know when to retreat, as they could fight again in the future. After all, this city is theirs. Moreover, they were facing a strong expert. Leaving now might be the best option. Chung starts to say he would remember this day and, especially, the name Zhang. The National Martial Arts examination would take place in 3 months. Chung emphasizes that once he is admitted to the Qing Martial Arts Academy, he would personally go after Zhang. Zhang smiles and says that's a coincidence, as he was also planning to enter the Qing Martial Arts Academy. Zhang says they might even be classmates there. Chung gets annoyed by Zhang's calmness and starts shouting that, although Zhang was an extremely fast person, his physical strength and spirit were below standard. Chung also highlights that Zhang's financial life was crap. As if it were good, he wouldn't let his precious sister work in places like that. However, Zhang remains very calm and smiling, asks Chung not to worry about him, but about his arm, which is completely injured. So as soon as the two are in the academy, Zhang asks Chung to give his best and go after him. Tiancheng starts to take Chung away. Even so, he turns around and asks where all this confidence comes from. All the people there start to celebrate and yell for them to disappear from there, because just by having money, they thought they were better than others. The people shouted for them never to forget this day, and to stop mocking their town for thinking there was no talent there. The slap in the face they received will be remembered for a long time. Zhang hugs his sister and says it's late, so they should go back home. She smiles and agrees, but before they leave, Zhang asks Zhang to wait a moment, as she would like to thank him for what he had done there today. Zhang asks him to go with her for just a few minutes, so they can discuss some things. Feng smiles and tells her brother that Zhang is a good person. Then he agrees to listen to her. Inside a room, Zhang and his sister are sitting on a couch, while Zhang stands up and starts to think again. Then, she hands over a payment to Zhang of 500,000 and says that this is a demonstration of the gratitude she felt for what he had done that night. He not only defended his sister, but also brought glory to the city of Tianfeng. Zhang thinks that with this amount, he would no longer need to worry about rent, nor even about his sister's kidney. However, he says that as much as he needs money, he could not accept this money just like that. Zhang says she would be very clear there. As Zhang himself had seen before, she also had unfinished stories with Tiancheng from the Tianxing group, and clearly Tiancheng had brought Cheng there just to cause problems for the Yunding Club. So, this money is actually for Zhang to help her, because if he hadn't intervened today, things could have really gotten quite ugly. Feng turns to her brother, and with a very happy face, says that he should help Zhang. Zhang sighs and accepts the money, and says that if Cheng causes problems again in the future, then he would help. Then, Zhang and his sister stand up and say that if there was nothing more to be dealt with there, they would leave. Zhang thanks again and says she would ask her team to take the two to their home. Zhang says not to worry, as they would go by themselves. As soon as they leave the club, Zhang says he never wanted to see his sister there inside again, so she would not return there. Feng says she knew she was wrong, but the salary was very high. Zhang gets angry and yells, saying no matter how much the salary was, she should never step in there again. Then he asks if she understood. She tries to change the subject, saying he looked very strong fighting there inside. Then he cuts the topic, saying he doesn't want to know more about this subject. It's very late and tomorrow she had class, so they would immediately go back home so she could sleep and rest. The next day at school, Zhang was about to leave his classroom until he hears someone calling him, and as he turns, sees Yang jumping towards him, crying, saying that they might not have seen each other again, as yesterday he almost got kidnapped in the magical domain. Then, Yang hugs Zhang tightly and says that if Master Asura hadn't saved him yesterday, he probably could have been dead now. Zhang says that Yang was really lucky, but now he must let him go and continue what he was doing, because Zhang needed to go back to his house to cook for his sister. Yang leaves enchanted, saying that Master Asura was incredibly strong, so he would choose him as his new master. Zhang is a bit disheartened by this, and thinks that Yang's memory was really good. In the corridor, Zhang meets another person who greets him. He introduces himself, saying his name is Hao, and that he had a question to ask Zhang. Then he asks if it had been Zhang who cleaned the martial arts room yesterday after training. Zhang thinks this is the guy who had awakened an A-ranking talent, and immediately remembers that he had left his punch number on the dynamometer, and thinks he might have seen it. Then he answers yes. Hao gets excited and asks if he had seen him use the dynamometer that night, but Zhang just says he hadn't seen anyone use it. Zhang looks directly at them and quickly starts to walk away, saying he had something important to do and couldn't be late. As he ran away from there, Zhang thought he needed to be more careful from now on, as it was not yet time to expose his talent. And by great luck, Hao hadn't seen that it had been him who used the dynamometer. But Hao watches Zhang as he walks away. Hao wonders if it could be him, but a guy next to Hao says that's impossible, as in last month's exam, Zhang hadn't even been among the top 100. Hao says there's nothing to worry about now, as the truth will always come out in the National Martial Arts exam. Back at his home, Zhang watches television while his sister washes the dishes. On television, a news report starts saying that recently, a dangerous fugitive had escaped to the city. So, this report was a reminder from the city department for all citizens to stay in their homes, safe, and for students, the advice is to try to stay inside their homes during the night. And, if they see a suspicious person, they should immediately call the police. Zhang stands up and tells his sister that he would enter the magical domain, and, as she heard on television, things are not safe out there. So she should be a good sister and not leave the house this time. Feng says it's okay and she would stay inside. Then Zhang, without wasting time, returns to the magical domain. On the 3rd floor, he opens his system and thinks that although he got the Sky Devourer boss, he still had lost many beasts. At the moment, there are 5 vacancies. So Zhang decides that, before trying to advance further, he would fill the remaining 5 slots. Currently, Zhang has an elite dark wolf, a sky-devouring frog, a venomous spider, a lava turtle, and a violent rabbit. Zhang opens the magical domain guide again to check the monsters on the 3rd floor. On the 3rd floor, there are warrior goblin and launcher goblin. Zhang starts to think that the monsters on this floor are just short and long-range goblins, but he still doesn't know which would be better for his team. Zhang decides to collect one of each first to test their strengths, and then choose which ones he would put on his team. As soon as Zhang was about to start hunting, he hears a cry for help. A group of 3 people was being attacked by goblins. One of them screams and warns that the goblins' attack was very strong, so they should be careful not to be hit. Then, the guy with the shield notices that one of the goblins was going to attack and trembles in fear. The warrior goblin quickly attacks and breaks their shield in half with extreme ease, while the launcher goblin from a distance hits them with its attacks. As they ran without knowing what to do, Zhang on top of a tree just watched and studied the scene. He thinks that even 3 short-range experts were not able to defeat a single warrior goblin. Apparently, these goblins really are strong. Zhang summons the sky-devouring frog and orders it to attack. Then, immediately, the frog jumps and attacks, causing 310 damage to the warrior goblin. Zhang is impressed with the power of the frog. Then he summons the lava turtle and asks it to join the battle. Immediately, the turtle appears and jumps in front of the warrior goblin, but the warrior goblin blocks the attack of the turtle. This leaves Zhang impressed, as he didn't imagine they could block attacks. But suddenly, the launcher goblin starts to attack the turtle quickly, causing very large damage, which makes Zhang impressed with the strength and attack speed of the launcher goblin. Quickly, the lava turtle dies. Then Zhang starts to focus on the launcher goblin and tells the frog to change its target and attack the launcher goblin. Then the frog attacks again. The goblin looks at this, unable to dodge or defend. Then the frog's attack hits the launcher goblin squarely, causing 450 damage. Zhang orders the frog to attack again, leaving the goblin with little life. Zhang calls his elite dark wolf and orders it to finish it off. But as soon as the launcher goblin sees the elite dark wolf, it starts running away in fear, which shocks the wolf, Zhang, and even the other goblin. Zhang is very disappointed, wondering why the launcher goblin was fleeing when it was about to be captured. Zhang says the goblin wouldn't get away that easily. Then, quickly, he calls his violent rabbit, and says now he wanted to see who would be faster. So he sends his rabbit to catch the launcher goblin. Zhang and his elite dark wolf come down from the tree while his violent rabbit chases after the launcher goblin. Zhang looks at the warrior goblin and says it is the only one left there. So, it's better for it to put up a good fight, and he sends his dark wolf and the frog to attack. Then, the bosses begin to attack. As soon as the goblin is defeated, Zhang goes to its body and says it was very brave, as they took 10 minutes to defeat it. Then, after the death of the goblin, Zhang summons it so he can analyze its attributes. So, as soon as the goblin is summoned, Zhang opens the system which shows the attributes. Name, Warrior Goblin. Level, 1 out of 5. Experience, 1 out of 10. Health, 450. Damage, 240 to 290. Defense, 300. Ability, none. Zhang notices that the damage and defense of the goblin are really notable. However, this was expected for a monster of the 3rd floor. Although the goblin has no abilities, its attributes are greater than those of the level 3 violent rabbit. As soon as Zhang touches the name of the violent rabbit, he notices that the rabbit hadn't returned yet. So he decides to look in the system, and the system shows that the violent rabbit was dead. Zhang wonders what happened and how his rabbit died like that. But suddenly, he hears strange noises coming from behind a bush. Then, several goblins appear at once, screaming, "Chitter squeal," and charge at Zhang, who seeing this gets scared and thinks that now the situation was really going to escalate, as the goblin that had escaped earlier had called his partners. Zhang decides to run, as this number of goblins would easily kill his beasts, so he stores all of them and starts running towards the altar. But the goblins stop at a distance and stay there. Zhang thinks that these goblins are really very intelligent, as they even know that the altar would kill them if they got closer. The other people who were at the altar began to wonder how Zhang had called so many goblins like that. Zhang, on top of the altar, taunts the goblins. The goblin that he had hit previously shows him the finger. Then they start to retreat from there. After that, Zhang sits on the edge of the altar and thinks that these goblins are different from other monsters. Besides knowing how to flee, they also know how to call large amounts of reinforcements. So, the safest way to deal with them is not giving them the opportunity to flee. Zhang wonders how he would do that, as they are quite fast. Then Zhang remembers something. He quickly stands up and thinks that probably this would work. The people around him even startle. A few minutes later, Zhang was on top of a tree again, watching 2 goblins standing still. Zhang hides better behind the tree to avoid being seen, while he continues observing. Seeing a pair again, he thinks that the teams are fixed and divided into short and long range. Zhang then thinks it's time for him to show something entertaining. Zhang starts to call his beasts, and orders them to start attacking the short-range goblin. Zhang takes advantage and sends the dark wolf and the frog to attack the launcher goblin. Quickly, the warrior goblin dies. Zhang looks at the launcher goblin and smiles, saying that now he couldn't do anything against them. Then they face each other. Zhang smiles and says he was the last one. The dark wolf growls at the goblin, which is low on life. Then the goblin starts running again, leaving the wolf behind, but Zhang had anticipated this. So he starts to summon his beast, the venomous spider, and orders it to hold him with its web. Quickly, the spider jumps and manages to hold him with the web. Then, Zhang with his beasts surrounds him, and he asks why he is not running now or calling for reinforcements. Zhang orders his beasts to finish him off. The goblin trembles in fear, but there isn't much it can do. After a few minutes, Zhang is with the system open, looking at the attributes of the launcher goblin and is impressed with the launcher goblin's damage. The system shows the following attributes: name, launcher goblin, level, 1 out of 5, experience, 1 out of 10, health, 300, damage, 290 to 330, defense, 280, ability, none. Zhang says the attack of the long-range goblin is almost as strong as that of the dark wolf. No wonder their attacks hurt so much. After seeing the attributes of both goblins, Zhang decides that he would catch some more. So he calls his beasts and says they would exterminate the goblins. Then, they start hunting the goblins and easily Zhang goes killing them one by one. Zhang, seeing the spider using its web, thinks that these skills really are very useful. He will have to learn to use them more frequently from now on. Zhang continues capturing goblins. In the last encounter, his level 3 lava turtle dies, but that was what Zhang wanted, as this way he could replace it with another goblin. Currently, Zhang has a small army of beasts, consisting of 7 goblins, 3 of them launchers and 4 warriors, an elite dark wolf, a sky-devouring frog, and a venomous spider. And with this, Zhang thinks he can take a look at the 3rd floor boss. After a few hours, Zhang finally arrives at the village where the Goblin King resides. As soon as Zhang sees all this, he is impressed and thinks that the Goblin King clearly would be quite complicated to deal with, as he has a whole structure protecting him, plus several goblin subordinates on guard. So he thinks fighting alone really would be very difficult. Looking back, Zhang sees a person shouting that they had an S-ranking talent and were organizing a team to fight the 3rd floor boss for free. The team would consist of 100 people and was almost full, so there were only a few spots left. Zhang, seeing this, thinks there are many people who take novices to get rewards by killing monsters and defeating bosses. Since there is no supervision there, those who just increase the number without real qualifications get opportunities like these. These scammers are very common around there. Sometimes the people who accompany them can even lose their lives due to the recklessness of the leaders. Zhang thinks they are just a bunch of fools, but the man with S-ranking talent calls Zhang and asks if he had any interest in joining his team, as there were still 5 spots available. The man says it's all for free, and that the items the monster drops would also be theirs, as he wouldn't want anything. Zhang thinks there are many people there, so it wouldn't be so difficult. He could enter with his summoned beasts. Then he turns and refuses the invitation, saying he would go alone. The people there start criticizing Zhang, saying that even when a specialist personally invited him, he did not appreciate the kindness and wanted to go alone. Some said he was crazy, as if he went in there alone, he would end up dying. After analyzing the entrances, Zhang finds one with few goblins, so he thinks it would be his best chance of victory. Then he prepares and calls his beasts and orders them to attack. Quickly, the battle starts, and all the goblins at the entrance are killed with some ease. Consequently, several demonic orbs were dropped. Zhang thinks that finally, he was lucky this time. Then he picks up his book and looks at the map there, but he hears another scream for help coming from inside a huge tent. And with that, obviously, Zhang realizes that the Goblin King would be inside there. The screams continue asking for help. Zhang is a bit confused, as by the time it was impressive that a person was already in there, fighting against the Goblin King. Inside, the people from the previous team were being attacked, and those who remained were running and screaming that the goblins were killing everyone there. The Goblin King attacked along with his subordinates without the slightest mercy. Suddenly, those who remained were surrounded. Zhang takes a look and sees the people being attacked and thinks that it is indeed the group he had seen before. But something was strange, as the man in the purple cloak, who claimed to be the team leader, was not helping them. Meanwhile, the fight continued. The goblins attacked furiously, finishing several quickly, and consequently, all those who listened to that man ended up dying there, leaving none of them alive. The Goblin King sits back down, laughing, while the bodies of the novices who were killed turned into orbs. Zhang, seeing this, says he now understood everything. That man before did not have an S-ranking talent. He just led them all there so they would die. After they were all dead, he planned to return and steal the orbs and items left by those who died there. Zhang picks up one of the orbs and thinks that these low-grade orbs were exchanged for the lives of all these novices. Zhang thinks that the man in the purple cloak is a despicable monster. But suddenly, a dagger flies quickly and breaks a pot right in front of Zhang, startling him. Then, he realizes that this is really bad, as he had awakened the Goblin King. As soon as he looks, he sees the Goblin King standing, with his soldiers around him, saying that there was a reckless intruder there. The goblins start to run to attack Jang, who quickly calls his goblins and asks them to block the attacks. Then, the warrior goblins begin to block the attacks from the other warrior goblins. Jang looks at the chief and thinks that if his goblins hold off the king goblin's subordinates, then he would have a chance to fight. Then, without thinking twice, Jang starts to attack the goblin king, using his venomous spider to hold the king while he prepared to attack with his bow. Jang also sends some goblins to attack the king, who gets angry and screams that they were nothing much, and starts to spin rapidly, breaking one of the goblin's swords and killing one of them in just one hit. Jang is impressed with the goblin king's whirlwind fist ability, as it had absurd damage. Thanks to that then, Jang decides to attack from afar and prepares his launcher goblins and the sky-devouring frog and joins them and orders all to attack the goblin king together. Then, all of them attack at the same time. The goblin king just looks at the attacks coming his way. Then, the goblin king picks up his 2 swords and defends the attacks, saying that the intruder was reckless and therefore he should die. Jang is impressed again, as besides the strong attack, the goblin king could defend with the swords. Besides the fireball from the sky-devouring frog, he can block other physical attacks and weaken their damage by half. The king's subordinates continue attacking Jang, but quickly his goblins defend him from the attacks. Jang thinks that the damage and defense of the king are very high. His beasts would not last much longer if it continued this way. So, he starts to think about what he should do, but while thinking, someone grabs the dagger again and yells for Jang to die and hits him from behind, causing 399 damage in one hit. Jang turns with the wound and realizes that the one who attacked him was the man in the purple cloak. Jang finds it strange that he hadn't noticed this guy and calls him despicable. The man says that, even with a critical hit, Jang didn't die. Clearly, his attributes were remarkable. He adds, saying his talent is stealth. As long as he doesn't attack or take damage, he can remain invisible. He asks if that talent isn't really incredible. Jang responds that the talent is rubbish for fighting monsters and bosses, but for deceiving people, it was quite useful. And based on that, he did what he did with the novices. The man in the purple cloak says that's right, and that if it weren't for Jang, now he would be with another batch of demonic orbs, and therefore, he should die. At that moment, Jang was completely screwed, as behind him was the Goblin King, and in front, the man in the purple cloak. Both in front and behind there were enemies. Suddenly the Goblin King kills another one of his goblins, and the system notifies that another warrior goblin has been killed, leaving Jang a bit scared, pondering what he should do now since he was injured and surrounded. Jang thinks he cannot be defeated by this guy. He had to think of something. It was his duty. The man in the purple cloak laughs and asks if Jang really still intended to fight. Suddenly, Jang has an idea and calls his venomous spider and orders it to bind the man in the purple cloak. Jang says the man in the purple cloak is very inattentive. Quickly, Jang is standing, looking at the man in the purple cloak, who grumbles and asks if Jang really thinks he would escape just by binding him there on the ground, as the Goblin King was focused on Jang and not on him. Jang tells the man to shut up and says he wasn't planning to run. He just had to wait a bit and collect the corpse of the man in the purple cloak from the ground. Then, Jang calls all his beasts back, leaving the path clear for the Goblin King. The man, now trapped, asks if Jang was going crazy. As Jang runs from there, he tells the man not to be hypocritical now. Jang's plan is to remove all his beasts and get out of the field of vision of the Goblin King, thus leaving only one target for him to attack, namely the man in the purple cloak. The man becomes desperate, thinking he hadn't imagined he would fall into this trap. Thus, the king prepares to attack, but the man uses his ability, making the Goblin King stop and become a bit confused. While he was invisible there, he thinks he would never forget Jang's face, and that as soon as he escaped from there, he would go after him to the ends of the earth. By the man's count, there were 25 seconds left until the venomous spider's web would end, but Jang returns and stops right in front of them. This confuses the man. He wonders why Jang had come back there, what he was really planning. Jang smiles, takes his bow and arrows, and says he had figured the man would turn invisible. Then, Jang shoots an arrow that hits right in the man's chest, making him visible again. Then he screams, saying he was invisible. How did Jang hit him like that? But as soon as the man looks back, he sees that the king had noticed him again. Then the king, with eyes red with rage, returns to attack mercilessly, throwing the man to the ground who was trembling. The man says there were only 5 seconds left for the web to end, but suddenly another web is thrown at him, and the countdown starts at 60 seconds again. The man becomes furious, saying he would kill Zhang. Then Zhang starts to laugh and says he doesn't need to see the man, just the web was enough. Zhang prepares another arrow and tells the man to taste his own poison, as he used to watch all the novices die, one after the other without doing anything. So now it's his turn to be killed by the boss. Zhang hits another arrow into the man's belly, then the king prepares to attack again. The man, seeing his death approaching, screams and says that even if he dies there, he would not let Zhang get off scot-free from all this. Then the king strikes the man with all his strength, killing him. Zhang says he who sows the wind reaps the whirlwind. Zhang decides once and for all that he would defeat the king with everything he had. So he calls all his beasts again. Now only 2 goblins remained on the king's side, but there were several orbs scattered on the ground and some items as well. Then, Zhang starts to pick up some orbs and items. He ends up finding a glove named White Silk Gloves. It is of grade A, attributes. Damage plus 50, special abilities. None, durability. 100 out of 100. Zhang thinks this is pretty cool, as plus 50 damage points would definitely significantly improve his attack strength. So he decides to test his attack and attacks the king. His arrow is indeed faster, but when it hits the king's head, it does nothing beyond leaving a small mark on his head. Zhang laughs nervously and thinks this was not the result he was expecting. The king attacks again, quickly killing 3 goblins, saying they were weak. Zhang starts to run out of options and thinks the damage of this boss is terrifying. If he doesn't do something in the next moves, all his beasts could end up dying. The king screams that they are weak, and he will kill everyone and charges at Zhang, who quickly uses his venomous spider and asks it to use its web. This traps the monster on the ground, causing it to miss its attack. Then, Zhang takes advantage of this and removes his short-range beasts and calls all his long-range ones and sends them to attack the Goblin King, who was trapped. Then, all of them start attacking together. The king manages to defend against some of the attacks. Zhang smiles and asks if that is enough. Then, the sky-devouring frog attacks with its flames and hits the king directly, leaving him with just 9% of life. Zhang yells for his beasts to hold on tight, as they were almost winning. He orders everyone to attack again, and as soon as the frog uses its fireball, the Goblin King just looks at it, unable to defend. Then, the fireball hits the king, causing great damage, enough to defeat him. The system appears, congratulating Zhang for defeating the Goblin King. Zhang celebrates with the rest of his beasts, who finally manage to defeat the king. Suddenly, the king's throne begins to crack and a portal forms there. The system announces that the entrance to the 4th floor has appeared. Zhang, seeing this, thinks now it makes sense why he hadn't found it before. It was hidden in the king's throne. Many orbs were scattered on the ground. Zhang picks one of them up and thinks that, as expected of a boss, he dropped a high-grade demonic soul orb. Zhang calls his beast, the Goblin King. As soon as he is fully summoned, he looks at Zhang, who looks back at him with a happy face. The king bows before Zhang, who gives him a knock on the head, saying he was very tough to deal with. Because of him, some beasts had died. But suddenly, Zhang pats the head of the Goblin King and says that all of this is in the past, as now he was part of the family. Zhang opens the system and thinks that now he had 3 bosses, the Elite Darkwolf, the Sky-Devouring Frog, the Goblin King, and to complete, there was one more venomous spider and a launcher goblin. Zhang reviews and thinks that, although the Darkwolf has the lowest attributes there, it is still of an elite class and will level up soon. Excluding these beasts, there were still 5 slots remaining. Zhang decides to go back and get 3 more warrior goblins and 2 launcher goblins. He reviews all his beasts and thinks it over, and decides to go to the 4th floor, as soon the 3rd floor's boss would come back to life, not to mention that later he could try to summon more bosses and Goblin Kings. Thus, he would become almost invincible. But before he can enter the portal, someone shouts for him to stop. Several people surround him and yell for him to surrender peacefully. Zhang looks at this and sees that all of them carry a logo on their chests, and this logo is from the Magic Domain's administration team. One of them asks where are the victims who joined Zhang's team, but he simply responds that he hadn't created any team, and possibly they were getting the wrong guy. The man points his sword and says that's a lie, as they had received a report that a person was posing as a specialist and deceiving novices. Right there, in 1 year, 3 cases were opened and hundreds of people died because of this.
If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and like the video. Thank you.